The message hidden at the end of the movie, Leave the World Behind, with an episode of Friends, is much more than you think. In recent days, the movie Leave the World Behind has given much to talk about on social media. A movie that shows to us how several families face an attack in the United States. In this video, we will be talking about the hidden message in this movie. And we will explain why the end of the movie is so significant, with the little girl sitting watching TV. And for more videos of your favorite movies and series, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Welcome to the Oasis Geek. The story begins with a series of seemingly isolated events, but soon reveals an alarming pattern. Planes plummeting from the sky without explanation. Ships crashing into the shore in an act of desperation or confusion. And a massive failure of communication networks, leaving the population disconnected and isolated. The plot centers on the Sanford family, consisting of Amanda, Clay, and their 2 teenage children, who arrive at a luxurious vacation home in Long Island for a few days of rest. The first night there, the Scott family shows up unexpectedly. The supposed owners of the property, claiming that a power failure in the city forced them to drive to their vacation home. Soon, the Sanfords discover that they have no signal on their phones, nor access to the internet. Strange events begin to happen, such as power outages, plane crashes, and even the stranding of an oil tanker off the coast. The Scott family tells them that there has been a major blackout in New York. Unable to leave the house and with a sense of growing danger, the 2 families decide to stay together as they try to understand what is happening. As the plot unfolds, the audience witnesses how these incidents impact the lives of the main characters. We see how chaos and fear begin to take hold of people, how the streets empty, and how silence and uncertainty fill the air. The film, through its scenes and dialogues, poses a series of possible explanations for these catastrophic events. One of the characters suggests that it could be a large-scale terrorist attack, a possibility that immediately introduces an atmosphere of paranoia and distrust. Another character speculates that it could be the beginning of a civil war, reflecting the state of division and tension that exists in society. It is also mentioned the possibility that different governments around the world are behind these attacks, which points to a conspiracy of international dimensions. The film ends with the girl Rose, who has managed to enter the house of one of the neighbors, apparently abandoned. In the film, you find her alone, eating quietly in the dining room. When exploring the house, Rose discovers a hidden metal door leading to an underground bunker equipped with supplies, electricity, computers, and televisions. A screen displays an emergency message from the government, warning about the attacks on the White House and other cities by armed rebel forces. It also warns about dangerous levels of radiation. Oblivious, Rose sits down on a couch and puts on the final episode of her favorite series, Friends, looking for some normalcy amidst the chaos. After watching this movie, we are left with more questions than answers, and I believe that was the intention of its creators, to generate debates about its true meaning. Although we could theorize about what the source of this attack was, I think the answer lies in what they mentioned about the different attacks in the world. This is confirmed when the girl enters the bunker, and the attack is mentioned in the emergency system. But really, although the film is proposed as a puzzle to be solved, the film is really a social critique of the average American. The film shows us what would happen to a society that is dominated by technology and doesn't know what news to believe. Intentionally, it gives us multiple explanations for what is happening, because that is precisely what happens with the news in this country. When a tragic event happens, different versions are shown, and the truth is usually the first victim. In the face of a larger-scale attack, misinformation would dominate, and that is what the film proposes to us. That in war, the first victim is the truth, and that a society immersed in pleasure and entertainment might not realize that its own extinction has arrived. The scene that gives meaning to this film is when the girl is telling the story of the man who reclaimed to God. This scene is a metaphor for the American society. The movie wants to tell us that society has received multiple signs about its end, but has chosen to ignore them. From airplanes falling out of the sky, animals acting strangely, or even a young boy having his teeth falling out. These are all signs that people should have understood to flee from that place. The fact that everyone stayed in their homes and thought it was simply an event that would resolve itself is a sign of the disconnection from reality that the film is trying to show us. This story proposes that none of the protagonists accepted that they were being attacked, or that they would actually be in danger in that place, because they maintained a kind of collective delusion that everything would eventually be okay. Rose understands that these signs point to the fact that it will all end, and that she must move from that place, if only to see the end of her favorite series. This brings us back to the end of the film. When Rose sits in the bunker, she is in front of hundreds of movies and series about American culture. Something that, according to the movie itself, makes us nostalgic for a time that never existed. For the story, Americans have been asleep in their entertainment while collecting enemies around the world. And in the face of an attack, the only escape the girl had is the same escape they had in the past: entertainment. It is no coincidence that the series Friends will be shown as a driving force in the story. Friends is a series which shows the supposed life of the average American and their friends. But of course, it is an idealized story, something that does not correspond to reality. There are several sociological studies that suggest the Friends series, and others like it, have generated a distorted perception of reality, creating an alternative version of the American history. These studies indicate that many Americans refer to these series as if they represented real events and times, even though this is not true. This type of representation of reality in series or movies creates a fantasy bubble that can be very appealing. In a world full of uncertainty and stress, the simplicity and predictability of these stories offer a refuge. Viewers can immerse themselves in a universe where problems are generally minor and are always resolved by the end of the episode. When one remembers the youth of the 80s and 90s, one usually thinks of the young people reflected in those movies or series who never belonged to reality. This disconnection between reality and people is what the film leaves us with. While on the outside the bombs are falling, on the inside we feel nostalgia for times that never existed. Trapped in entertainment that only serves to hide the reality that while the bombs are falling, we do nothing. We will try to escape our entertainment, but it will be too late, and perhaps, because we are dependent on technology and entertainment, we will not be able to face the coming danger. But tell me, what do you think about all this? What do you think is the meaning of the movie? And for more videos of your favorite series and movies, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. You are on The Oasis Geek.